topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where for the last 16 years, we have brought you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now, I said, good afternoon, Florida. This next expert, he has become so important to this show that the night before, I guess it was about 3 months ago, we were looking for Medicare agents on the East Coast. And I said, you know what? This man is such an incredible agent that I am going to hire him as my Medicare agent. What an endorsement that is. And I'm going to give him the entire East Coast of the United States. I feel so good about him. Let me welcome you. I'm going to welcome not only Stephen Fromm, but his mother, Maria's with us today. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you doing?
How about that for an opening?
We appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
No, I got to tell you, we are so blessed to have you, because one of the scariest things for 16 years is, gosh, what if an expert comes on and I don't agree with them? Or they get mad, because I get a lot of experts say, why don't you endorse us? Well, endorsing is really a big deal to me. When I decided, you know what, I've seen the worst Medicare agents, but I also saw the best in you and how you handle your business. Everything is top notch. Stephen sent me my little care package with all the little from insurance, Medicare company, all of his logos. And there was so much work that went into this. He didn't have to do that. And I said, anybody who puts that much behind is got to be an incredible agent. I want him for my agent. And I just want to thank you for, first of all, for your friendship, but for making this show so amazing.
Thank you very much. That's a lot. We really appreciate that, Steve. We do our best to make a positive difference in everyone's life every day. So thank you.
Well, Stephen, one of the things that I've talked about on your show is when I first got Medicare, I had the worst agent. I mean, literally, and I didn't know it because I didn't know that much about Medicare. But I learned what having a bad agent. And there's two things I want our audience to know. One is when you see these national commercials, you go to that company and that company only. Stephen represents a lot of companies. So you're not going to just get one plan. He's going to shop the market for you. And I got to tell you, and there's things that are changing so often, Stephen. And it's amazing the amount of work you do for each one of your clients to make sure they have the right Medicare policy.
Well, again, we appreciate that. It's a very As we said in our previous show, we do a client's needs analysis. Usually takes about a good 30, 40 minutes to go through everything, ask a lot of questions. It's very important that we understand what their healthcare needs are, understand their budget, what's important to them. As I mentioned to you, the very first question we always ask somebody is, what would you like to accomplish today during our call? Because that really sets, the expectations of, what they want and how I can address their issues that are important to them.
We got about 4 or 5 emails in, Stephen, that were people who live in New York but work in New Jersey, and they were watching your New Jersey show, and they said they wanted me to ask you if you do Medicare savings program.
Yes, we do. That is a different type of Medicare Advantage program that is offered Medicare savings. Again, they are very different programs. It's not for everyone. It's a special needs. Be happy to speak with those folks to understand, what's important to them and how that program could possibly best fit into what they're looking for in their healthcare needs. It's a very can't think of the right word, but it's very selective.
You have to qualify for it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's different parameters we need to look at to make sure you qualify for those programs. That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So we're running your phone number below. We'll be giving out throughout the shows for the people on iHeart and Spotify. I want to talk, you just start talking a couple of weeks ago about umbrella coverage. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure. That's a great topic. We've been talking a lot about that. Medicare, original Medicare, consider it, the Cadillac of insurance, as well as, Medicare Advantage, meets the needs of a certain population. But there are gaps. There are a lot of gaps when it comes to Medicare. And we talk about that all the time. There are gaps when it comes to cancer insurance. If you get diagnosed with cancer or heart attack and stroke, or maybe you need to go into skilled nursing, and after that 100 days, you're not aware of the fact that there is no coverage. So there are certain types of insurance products available for that. Or maybe after a hospital stay, you do not want to go to skilled nursing and you want to go home. Custodial care, that's not covered by Medicare. So again, there's various insurance products available for that. But just jumping back to the cancer, heart attack, and stroke, should someone get diagnosed, unfortunately, there's going to be gaps. There's going to be certain, non-Medicare approved expenses, as well as going to be a lot of non-medical expenses, such as maybe transportation or lodging, loss of income, have to pay some bills. Those are all the things when we do that client needs analysis that we go through with the education and clarity. It's very important with everyone we speak to, make sure they understand everything and it's very clear to them. We're finding that it's making a real positive difference. So it's very important.
What happens if someone has surgery or a hospital stay? Does Medicare fully recover, like, for example, skilled nursing?
Well, again, the first with skilled nursing, the first 20 days are covered. Day after that, day 20 through 100, there is a copay. And if you're an original Medicare supplemental, that will be covered for you. Now, if you're in Medicare Advantage plan, there could be a copay associated with day 20 through 100. And that's where we talk about, as we mentioned previously, hospital insurance. A lot of folks on Medicare Advantage plans are not aware there's insurance called hospital insurance to help protect them against those costs, when they possibly reach their out-of-pocket maximum. So that type of insurance could help protect them. But the big thing is when you get to that 100 days, how after 100 days, there is no coverage. And that's very important that we address that. And there are insurance products out there now available to help cover those costs that people are not aware of. Now, it's not in every state, unfortunately, but it's a great program to talk to for those people that are eligible for those states.
You brought up the word gaps. What is that?
What is gap?
Yeah, these gaps that show up.
Yeah, again, it's just when we talk about gaps, it means, expenses or, covered expenses that are not, expenses are not being covered. So that is the gap that is someone could possibly incur. Again, with respect to cancer, not every prescription or medication is covered. So we need to talk about that. And that's why we talk about the cancer insurance. We want to make sure that someone is aware that, hey, certain maybe chemotherapy drugs, for example, are only covered at 80%. How does that other 20%? How do you pay for that? I've had some real life examples recently with families where they had to pay out of pocket, $2,000 for a drug. So, if having the right plan available could help pay for that. So those are some of the gaps we talk about when it comes to cancer, heart attack, stroke, skilled nursing, as well as, if you need some home care, custodial care, I should say.
We just got a text from Emilio in Miami. Mm-hmm. He said, "This is my second show. I'm so glad I found your show. How do I go about getting rid of my agent and hiring you? What do I have to do?"
Well, I'm all about, supporting agents. That's very important. Relationships between an agent and their client is very important to me, very professional. If that person would like to have a conversation with me, they definitely can reach out to us. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with them and understand, why they would consider possibly making a change. It's very important for me to understand why somebody would want to possibly make a change, not just make a change. So be more than happy to talk to that person. But going back real fast regarding you talk about the gaps, and we talk about cancer, heart attack, stroke, skilled nursing, recovery care, home care. One of the great things about this show now is we've decided to make a video library. So we're creating a video library on our website. So that video library will allow folks listening to the show, and they can now go directly to the website, and based on what I'm talking about, they can go watch one of those 30-minute videos and help with the educational process. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work right now. My mom sees me making these videos and recording things, and it's it's a lot of work. Doesn't happen on the first take. Let's say that.
Hey, here's a great text from Lou Ellen, I think is her name. She is in Atlanta, and she wants to know, do you set up a Zoom conference for associated living for, I guess this is for a condo association?
We would be more than happy to set up a Zoom conference, be more than happy to set up a Google Meet. We can use the Medicare 101 presentation that we put together during that Zoom conference for education and clarity. The presentation is on the website as well. We discussed that under the Medicare. It's called Medicare Simplified, but we actually are redoing that presentation. We've added a lot of new modules to that. So I'll be re-recording that this weekend. But yes, we would welcome the opportunity to do a Zoom or a Google Meet, whatever they need, to have a Q&A even. Just maybe have a Q&A and not do the presentation, whatever works best for them.
Stephen, what's sad is somebody who has, built up a nice retirement savings, and all of a sudden a long hospital surgery comes up, and it can really wipe you out. And it's so important that these people have protection so that doesn't happen.
That is where this, we're talking about the umbrella, we're talking about, non-taxable insurance products. Your retirement assets are for retirement. We don't want someone to use their qualified assets to pay for a large hospital expenditure, for example, because that is a taxable asset. So they're going to have to pay taxes on that money when they withdraw it. So to pay for that hospital stay, for example, or that skilled nursing. That's why it's so important when we do our client needs analysis to go over retirement assets and discuss those and how we want to make sure we protect those for those person and discuss those products we've been talking about.
Who should consider reviewing this type of coverage?
Everybody. Everybody. Whether you're just turning 65 and going on to Medicare, or maybe you're currently on Medicare and you're not aware of some of the things that we have been talking about. Your insurability, as we say, your insurability will change as you age in place. So while you're insurable now, let's look at products that meet your needs. Because what if something happens and now your insurability changes and maybe you won't qualify for a product like that? So it's important. I have a client right now turning 65. We're talking about that. And during the conversation, she stopped me and said, my husband is 70. He's been on Medicare for 5 years. We never knew about any of this. Can we do an analysis for him as well? And I'm like, absolutely. And they're down in North Carolina. And she was like, wow, no one ever took the time to tell me this before. And I'm like, well, that's what we're here for. We want to talk about those things. You know, I mean, my mom here, she's on original Medicare. You know, my mom has macular degenerative disease and she goes for her injections. And because she's on original Medicare, those injections have been covered at 100%. So,
wow.
So yeah. It depends on the client. You know, is original Medicare the best? Or is Medicare Advantage the best? Those are the in-depth questions that we ask during a client needs analysis. So my mom is very lucky. You know, those injections, are very expensive. But the fact that she has original Medicare works best for her, we're fortunate. Those injections are covered for her.
Thank God.
Here's Norman in Boston. He wants to know when should you come in or call you at what age to apply for Medicare?
Well, as we talked about in one of the other shows, you know, the IEP, the initial election period for someone turning 65 is that 3-month window before you turn your birthday of 65, the month of, and 3 months after. But what we're doing now is we're actually talking to seniors and saying, you know what, we should probably have these conversations 6 months in advance now, not 3 months before your birthday, because insurability. We're finding out that a lot of seniors don't realize that these ancillary products we're talking about, cancer, heart attack, stroke, maybe recovery care or home care, they can enroll in these products prior to enrolling in Medicare. So that's been making a big difference as well. A lot of seniors said to me, I wasn't aware of that. So now we get them enrolled in some of these products before they even get on Medicare. So I would say right now, even a year out, we're having conversations. I have a couple of clients that are, it's about a year out. We're already having these conversations about positioning them, making sure they're in the right plan, making sure they understand everything.
Home care can get really expensive. Assisted living can get very expensive. What is just a regular Medicare plan is not going to cover anywhere close to all that, is it?
It's not going to cover any of it. Regular Medicare is not going to cover assisted living. Assisted living is completely out of your pocket. It's not going to cover home care. Well, maybe certain things, but it's not going to cover most of custodial care. And that's where we talk about this recovery care product comes into play, where someone can use it for skilled nursing or assisted living now, as well as, like I mentioned previously, you're in the hospital and you don't want to go to skilled and you want to go to home care. Well, guess what? There are certain products now to help you pay for that. With the average hourly rate of home care increasing, it's very expensive. It's also important for maybe if you're, we talk about assisted living, but what if you're alone? What if you live alone? Your family's far from you? Home care benefits are a big benefit for you. They're going to help you with the aides and the nursing. It makes a big difference for somebody.
Stephen, what's the biggest mistake people make when they first sign up for Medicare?
Not understanding all the rules. Maybe delay, not understanding why it's important to enroll at Part B during certain times. Maybe you think you have credible employer coverage, but you really don't. So you delay Part B, and that leads to a penalty. Or for some seniors, I'm not taking any medications when we do the initial election. I don't take any medications. I don't want to enroll in Part D. Well, unfortunately, Medicare does require you to have credible drug coverage, even if you're not taking any prescriptions at this time. And if you delay that, there will be a penalty. And those penalties for Part B and Part D, they last for the rest of your life.
Yep.
They do not go away. They do not go away, and they can become significant penalties. So again, making sure people understand that. Again, especially if someone is thinking about staying on their employer coverage. That's always a big conversation. If you're going to stay on your employer coverage, making sure you understand the rules of possibly deferring B, and even, deferring Part A if it's possible for you.
I wanted to ask you this on a personal basis.
Mhm.
I have been getting so many, they're robocalls, first of all. I've been getting so many calls of companies offering me $2,900 in grocery money.
A
What
year
is
or
that
a
all
month? A month or a year?
Yeah,
Even
right.
because if it's a month, well, we're having a different conversation. But yeah, that is unfortunately those calls do happen to perk the interest of a senior. Maybe they're on a Medicare Advantage plan, or they would like to change, and maybe that over-the-counter card for that food benefit is important to them. So they're willing to listen to that call. Now, there are certain Medicare Advantage plans that do offer over-the-counter benefits, but at $2,900 a year, that's depends on the plan. You have to look. There are some plans out there that do offer benefits, more than $200 a month. But again, that is for certain situations and certain plans. Not every plan has that. So again, it comes back to what's important to you. Let's look at your needs. Let's find a plan that's going to best fit. Some people, maybe they do have special needs, and there are certain Medicare Advantage plans for those folks. But again, that is on a case-by-case scenario. We look at that and find out what's important to them.
Stephen, we've got a couple minutes left. I want you to tell people, and you can be humble, why they should hire you as their agent, their Medicare agent.
Well, I would say the very first thing, Steve, is that we take pride in helping every family we work with. We strive to make a positive difference in their life. We're all about client for life. We're not just here to help you the day you enroll in Medicare. Things will change, and that's why we always do our reviews with every family to see, check in, make sure everything okay. Maybe there's been a change. We want to discuss that. I think that's what makes a difference. Sometimes, someone might write a policy for a family and not follow up with them. Follow up is so important, because things will change. Family situations will change, and we want to be available to them to help them with those changes. And again, we always talk about insurability. We want to make sure they understand the purpose of insurability, because as you and I have mentioned, health issues just happen. They don't plan. So we want to talk about that, always talk about that. And we always mention when we're talking about, cancer, heart attack, stroke, we always reference the fact, hey, do you have a family or a friend that has been affected by that? And what happened in their life? Was it a financial strain? The stress levels on the family. So those are important things. And we really take the time to get to know everybody. And, I think I mentioned to you previously, one of the big questions I always ask for someone as we're wrapping up our client needs analysis, I always ask somebody, in the next 6 months, what's something you'd like to learn or accomplish? It's a very open-ended question. Sometimes people will answer me right away. Other people say, I reserve the right to think about it, which is great. And like I said, I always mention one of my clients in California that wanted to learn to play the bass guitar. And because of our relationship built over time, he was not doing it. And then finally I kept asking him, and he ended up getting the bass guitar, taking lessons, meeting new friends, just learning some new music. So again, it's more than just an insurance relationship. For me, it becomes a personal relationship, to be honest with you.
Stephen, tell people how they can reach you.
Well, they can reach us on the website, www.fromis.com. They can go on there. There is a contact form on that. They can also call us on the link on the show here. They can also go online and request a free copy of our new book that we just publicized. They can, like I said, watch our Medicare one-on-one webinar, and we're building out the library. So that is something that they can also begin to watch. So those are the easiest ways. Go to the website, www.fromis.com. That's always the best way to contact us.
Marie,
Yes.
thank God for your son. We are so blessed to have him. I'm so glad you got to join us on the show today.
Thank you.
Stephen, we're going to see you again twice next month.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Hey, we love you, bro. Thanks so much. Stay warm there. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we've got more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.